Okay.
All right. You enjoy that walk on the beach, my friend. Enjoy the good weather. And
Okay.
here we are in Toronto, but people are here from all across Canada and see. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting since I guess we started in 1993. That is more than a couple of years now. So this network is only for information and education purposes only. Please make sure that you seek the advice of qualified professionals only, licensed realtors, financial planners, accountant, or real estate expert, or lawyers. And we don't take any responsibility. Any take action should be done with all due respect. Every real estate investment, any investment carry a risk. Just be careful that you've done your proper due diligence. All right. So what's going to happen in 2025? Uncertainty. Uncertainty is the name, but there's opportunities down there. So the scariest part is to be not to do anything what you've done last 2, 3 years. This is the time for you to take some action. Those who are looking for a quick discovery call, you can call us this number and get a one-on-one coaching for half an hour, I believe. All right. So talking about real estate. So what is happening with Toronto? Toronto, over 20,000 families, 20,000, almost 20,000 homes, people trying to sell, 20,000 of them. Wow. So we're going to have a Randy Goodman, one of the expert in real estate. She's going to enlighten us exactly, is it a simply headline or what is the truth? Maybe there are a lot more condos in it, but she's going to break into pieces for her. She will be with us shortly as well. So this is simply, I would say, if I have to say nice, politely, I would say that is it an imbalance between supply and demand? Is it a fear factor? Is it economic factor? If the buyers are still waiting on the fence and sellers, the prices are not dropping that much though. Prices are even more or less, I would say, same. There are some areas properties has gone a little bit up and down, and Randy will be sharing more information with you about what is happening as we speak. So Ontario home sales prices, well, you have seen ups and downs, but I do believe that this is going to adjust because we don't have enough supply coming in and the price is not budging. And the builders are not building as many as houses as you think. And the cost of building houses, the development charges, the levies are going to be phenomenal. So don't expect that you're going to buy a brand new house at a much cheaper price unless you want to move to Edmonton or another part of Canada, because Toronto, if you live in larger cities, you have to pay the premium for them. So there's nothing of becoming obsolete. This is all about AI, and this is a new thing going on, and a lot of people are afraid, hey, what is going to happen to my job? Fear of missing out and missing of becoming obsolete. What are going to do next? So here is something about US. Most of you might heard about it, about the eggs in US. What are they selling it for? And now they're charging you $1.50 for extra egg if you want to eat it. Just thought for the sake of humor, I should add up for you. So what exactly is happening with cost in case the tariff hits in? The prices for the houses in US gonna go up by 40,000 per home at least. Canadian lumber, if they put a tariff on it, because Americans have to pay for it. Most of the drywall comes from Mexico. Again, we will see, as we said, that we will see as the cookie crumbles though. Inflation rate is going down, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen next, but keep our fingers crossed. So housing starts is a bit low as we speak, and this is information I believe came from the CMHC though. So Canada's Canadian population can double by 2074, which is more or less, we can say about 50 years, up to 80 million people. That's a good news in one way. So if you are a wealthy Canadian, what are you saving in the nest egg? There's a 4% rule. Some of you might not know about it. If you want to have 60,000 income a year, make sure you have an asset worth 1.5 million. We have certain formulas which are very basics, very fundamentals, but they are most, I would say, those are the fundamentals you cannot go wrong as long as you follow them thoroughly. So here is the sad part of it. For last couple of years, since 2022 or even before, a lot of Canadians are working more than one job. And why? Because it's expensive. The inflation, cost of living, the housing, even though the rentals is coming down, but not fast enough though. And people, a lot of Canadians are, as a matter of fact, leaving, and they're leaving Canada and don't know where they're going. But some of them are immigrating to Alberta the most. Alberta has become number one destination in Canada, especially people moving from BC and Ontario. So there's one thing which killing most of investors is your credit card. Not only investors, as a matter of fact, Canadians. If you have 8,000 of credit card at 25% interest and you're paying minimum payment, you're going to be paying about 5,320 bucks in interest only. Sometimes this interest is expensive, even though you're going to say, okay, I can claim it in business, but it is extremely expensive. There are better options. Just thought I should let you know that 45% of your income is going toward taxes. And if you want to figure it out, how much money are you paying every year to the bank as interest alone? You'll be shocked. Before you pay to the bank, you already have prepaid taxes on it. When you earn $1, you don't take $1 home. Maybe you take 55 cents altogether. Out of 55, you might be paying 30 or 33% of that 55 cent towards the banks. So be aware of it, how the money works though. All right, some of you were curious about this gentleman that I shared with you before, Cheng, Mr. Cheng, 1996. He was a notorious gangster. He kidnapped Victor Lee, asked him for $130 million. That was paid. Then he went again, he kidnapped his son again. And this time he said, my demand is teach me how to invest. You're going to take a quick picture of this slide. Please do so. It is very motivational. Even that person said, hey, listen, investment is much better than doing what I'm doing altogether. All right. For renewals, that's another nightmare for Canadians. We were speaking to another gentleman, Terry. He himself is a lawyer and a lender. And now there are 1.2 million Canadian homeowners who have to renew their mortgage. The question is variable, fixed, is something they should do hybrid, what rates, are the rates going to go up or down? A lot of uncertainty though. So we're going to have David Grossman discuss and give us a bit of more insight about it. What should we do when it comes to mortgages? So here is a couple of questions for you. If you want to know what happens if the tariffs are going to lead to higher inflation? Are they going to cut the short-term rates? Or the long-term inflation rate going to raise the rates again? Should the homeowners or buyers or investors should be looking at the rates very carefully? How about the falling bond market, the 5-year fixed term mortgage rates? So these are certain points one should definitely be looking into. Next time I should bring it to your notice though. So David Grossman going to join us shortly, maybe a little later on by 7:40 or so. So these are the sales activity, but this activity could change because of whatever's happening as we speak though. So here's a market update. She's going to be talking to us. Randy Goodman going to be talking about it. And oh boy, here she is. Randy, are you here?
I am here. Thank
All
you.
right, Randy,
Sorry.
it's all yours.
All right. So thanks for having me. And I apologize that I'm in the car, but I just finished a meeting. So, okay, so why are GTA Toronto homeowners finding it difficult to sell their homes with nearly 20,000 properties lingering on the market? GTA homeowners are struggling due to significant increase in interest rates by the Bank of Canada, which has significantly reduced buyer purchase power, leading to large inventory of homes on the market with fewer interested buyers, which caused a slowdown for us before, making it harder to sell properties quickly and at desired prices. So, of course, they impacted mortgage payments, made it more difficult to get loans. And with higher mortgage payments, buyers had less disposable income, leading to a decrease in demand for homes, especially for first-time home buyers. And a large number of properties listed for sale at the time creates a buyer's market where the sellers have to compete for limited numbers of buyers, impacting selling times and prices. So, and of course, it created buyer hesitation as well. Now that the interest rates have come back down to a more manageable rate, it doesn't change the fact that people already have their mortgages and already have their mortgage payments. But as we know and have heard, that now they're starting to come due this year, next year, the year after, and hopefully when they're coming due, the rates will still be at an affordable amount for them and be able to get back into the market or be able to keep their homes, not have to sell their homes with the crazy mortgage difference, but also get into the market for time home owners or home purchasers. Um, in regards to selling their homes, buyers have been a little bit hesitant about coming back into the market. Now, of course, with Trump in the US and the uncertainty there, uh, people are, if they want to buy, they're going to buy, but there's a lot of people sitting on the fence, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the tariffs, what's not going to happen. So there's a little uncertainty, but the projection for 2025 is that the sales will be better and the prices could go up slightly, but it's not going to be too crazy. Condos are not going to be wonderful this year, as they'll still be struggling to keep up. Condo market took quite a hit in the last couple years, so they don't expect it to get a heck of a lot better for condos this year. But go on to our next point. I'll just go into today's market. I had a whole whack of things to talk about, but a lot of them are mortgage. I'll leave that to David. But TREB market outlook reveals that well-supplied housing market will keep average annual home price growth at the rate inflation, with average selling prices increased moderately in the GTA over the course of the year. Lower interest rates and ample supply of housing will attract more buyers to take action and potentially increase sales volumes and selling prices. But we don't know what impact, like I mentioned before, any trade disputes will have. It's been delayed for the next 30 days, so we'll see what happens with that. I guess we'll have an update at the next meeting, and we'll have to see about that. TREB forecasts home sales in 2025 to be up about 12.4% over 2024, and the average selling price to go up about 2.6% over 2024 for all home types combined. And price growth will be stronger for single family homes as compared to the well supplied condo market, as I mentioned. And the year Started off with home sales, so January's numbers. Home sales were down 7.9% compared to the same period last year, so January 2024. And new listings are up by 48.6% year over year, which is great, showing a lot more activity in the market. And January sales were up month over month compared to December as well. So the average selling price was up about 1.5% compared to January 2024. So that's all good news. And that's my market report for this month. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Randy. Randy Goodman. She's a top-notch broker. She's award-winning real estate brokers 21, 22, 23, 24. She's number best-selling international selling author. And you can reach her directly. Real estate cell number is different than her phone number. But you can see the screen. Feel free to book a free call with her before you invest. Please check with her and discuss before you invest. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nev.
Thank you so much. All right, moving forward. Bankruptcies gone up quite a bit. And this will continue for a while. Most of the insolvencies we were talking earlier are builders and developers. People think the builders and developers make a lot of money, but they have a lot of carrying cost. And that is something, and interest rates, people don't close it, breach of contract where people want to walk away from it. They don't get all the money right away. There's another headache going to the courts and so on. All right. So moving forward with this thing, she is off today, and here comes the tax season. Here I want to say, hey, time to pay up. And how does the CA look at the red flags? Foreign property, foreign dividends, and on top of the interest income. Anything you put in the GIC, the bonds, and so on. But there are a lot of other ones they look at it. One of the factors they maybe look at it if you have done renovations. Is it renovations or is it additions? Is it a repair or it is renovation or it is extension? So not everything can be written off though, so be careful with it because they can red flag it. So here is some of the from Government of Canada website that the number of assets people have and compared to what we think they should be, it is not somewhere close to it. Now, how people create wealth, how they get to keep the money, how they keep the taxes. One of the worst part, that's my opinion only, is people have very little knowledge about the taxation. And by knowing a few basic, if you have good CPA, if you have good tax planner ahead of the time, that can make a humongous difference. Mind you, the education is much, much cheaper than the mistakes for us to have life. And some of these assets are really alarming. Those who are investing their RSP, the deadline is on March 3rd. We're going to have Jerry going to give us a couple of very handful tips. Can we put our RSP money or shouldn't we do that? How much money we can need to put it in? What's the maximum number you can put it in? So these are important part of it. So here is the portion of from the Fraser, how much an average Canadian pay taxes. We're not talking about you and me. We're talking about average Canadian. They pay about 43% of income toward the taxes more than the rest of their life. And we are already over taxing a lot of people. So having said that, we're gonna bring Jerry Hogan out. He is licensed in one only Canadian who is licensed in 5 different and separate regulated investment marketplace. He's also CPA and also happened to be a real estate investor. Jerry, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Good to see everybody tonight. Thank you, Nav, for once again gathering us all together. Yeah, so you mentioned the amount of taxes we pay. Wow. I guess the easy way to discuss that is the Tax Freedom Day, which is always in around May or June, which basically means half of the year. So when people say, how much taxes do Canadians actually pay? Well, if your Tax Freedom Day is the middle of the year, you're basically giving half of your money away in some form of tax, and there's a lot of different forms of tax. So I think the answer to that question, the closest I could come to is probably half of the money that you earn has gone away. Now, there's many things we can do about that. Saving taxes is a very important part of everybody's investment strategy. Saving taxes is like earning a rate of return on an investment. If you have $100,000 and you made 10%, you made $10,000. Well, if your accountant saved you $10,000, that's like making 10% on 100 grand. So those are different ways of looking at things. You certainly, a couple of things that I'll bring to attention of your listeners. One is that pesky 2/3 capital gain exemption that just doesn't seem to go away. I think I mentioned last time, I don't know if it was on this broadcast, but I've mentioned in a few other webinars that that was certainly introduced by the Liberal Party last year, never ever passed through Parliament. We as CPAs received our preliminary tax software even before Christmas, and we noticed that 2/3 was still on the new tax software. So we made inquiries to CRA, and the CRA is saying, no, you still got to deal with the 2/3 capital gain. And we corrected them to say, you're not allowed to do that if it's hasn't passed through Parliament yet. So there was a little kerfuffle there, and we were wondering how that was going to all end up. And now the Liberals have basically said this 2/3 capital gain, we're deferring it till at least January 1, 2026. Okay, that's very important to know. So if anybody out there has issues or concerns or tax planning concerns about that 2/3, it's off the table. Okay, it does not apply to this tax year, and that's finally official. So it took a while for them to actually make that official, but anyway, yeah. And so the other thing I want to discuss too is a lot of the talk about the US, obviously tariffs and everything else. I don't want to get into specifically on that. I like Nav's comment or illustration that these tariffs just increase inflation. The cost of everything goes up, which includes the cost of housing. So just on that note, without taking other market conditions into account, that's going to help us as homeowners as far as and looking for an increase in price. And it also, there's been a lot of discussion even before Trump, but certainly now that Trump is where he's at, about investing in the US. And I think more and more Canadians are looking down south to invest. And I don't want to get into a deep dive about that, but with everything that's going on, who knows what happens with these tariffs, but I think the end result is going to be a little bit more that we become less dependent on the US and a little more self-sufficient in Canada. I think it was Polyev who said, we need to tear down the provincial borders so we have a free market in Canada, which to me makes a whole lot of sense. But the whole issue of going down to the States to invest, I think that whole thought process will increase, even if people think about doing it. Some will, some won't. But I think the key is to position yourself to gain some knowledge about what it means to invest in the States, and to position yourself that you're ready to to invest down in the States. And I just want to touch on it. I don't want to go into a deep dive. People always ask me, do I need to set up these corporations in the States, LLCs? Technically not. You can go down there without a corporation, without an LLC, go and buy a property. You're going to have withholding problems. We have a free trade agreement with the U.S., so the IRS and CRA. Any money that you receive as a non-resident of the U.S. Will have withholdings applied, and that would be to rent or if you sell something. They literally send 25% to the IRS, and we have to do U.S. tax filings. I don't want to get into all the complexities of that, but it's just a layer of complexity. And one way around that is to create your LLC in the US. So if you're going to venture into the US and do some business, you may want to investigate the setting up of an LLC, limited liability corp. That prevents our withholding issue. And in very simple terms, an LLC gives a Canadian resident an identity in the States. You go down to the States as an individual, and they're not going to give you a mortgage. You're going to have a hard time opening a bank account. An LLC gives you instant recognition. So that's one reason why a lot of people do set up these LLCs to get recognized. You can go to the bank now, they recognize your LLC. You can go get a mortgage, they recognize your LLC. And then you have something called S-Class, S-Corps and C-Corps. So those are your three main vehicles down in the States. Again, I'm not going to go into a deep dive into it, but it's worth getting a little educated, up to date on some of this stuff, because I think moving forward, there have been better opportunities in the past. I'm not saying there's no opportunities in Canada, but a lot of people are looking south. And I think as this whole tariff thing happens, there probably will be more opportunities in the South. So we should position ourselves accordingly. And I'll leave that at that. But those that are interested, I'm happy to have a follow-up chat. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is your deadline coming up, February 28. Deadline. Two things happen on February 28. It's your deadline for your RSP, and it's your deadline to file dividends. Most of you know that I'm not the biggest fan of RSP. It's certainly not that I hate RSPs. The big difference in my world is I do not consider an RSP an investment. I consider it a tax strategy. So if you're in a high tax bracket, put the money into the RSP. But you need to strategize to get it out. Don't just do what the banks want you to do and leave it there forever until you're 70, 80, 90. We have serious tax problems at the end of life when we do final death tax returns with these RSPs. So just look at the RSP as a tax strategy. If you save 50% putting money into the RSP, and if you can pull it out at 20%, you've made 30% off our tax system. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's what we do all the time when we strategize with RSPs. But there is no point putting money into an RSP when if you're saving 20% or 30%. You do not need an RSP to save for the future. You need money and investments for the future. That can be inside of an RSP or outside of an RSP. And also on the February 28th, the dividend deadline. As public accountants, we certainly prefer our clients to receive remuneration by way of dividends. Eliminates the Canada Pension Plan, which that's a whole topic on its own. The biggest ripoff out there created by the government is the Canada Pension Plan. And I'll leave it at that, but that's your deadline on February 28th. And last, Nav, I'll just follow up on a comment you made about the banks getting paid so much interest. And it's so true. Most of, you look at where your disposable income goes and how much the bank is involved in your life. I really encourage people to learn a little bit more about this whole thing that's coming out called Be Your Own Banker or Infinite Banking, which is really designed to take the banking function away from the bank, bring it inside of your life, and reap the benefits of that. It's not for everybody. I'm certainly not saying here everybody needs to go set up these things, but it works for a lot of people. It certainly deals with estate planning issues too. When we do estate planning, we have to deal with the taxes at end of life. And in the very simple terms, there's two things you can do. One is nothing, which means the CRA is going to get a good chunk of your assets that you'd prefer to have go to your loved ones, your children, your spouse. So if you do nothing, that's what's going to happen. The other way is to consider insuring your tax liability at the end of life. And we can do that through that whole Be Your Banker process. So it's just kind of something to you Google it. You'll get information. Try to understand the concept. Again, it's not for everybody, but for those that are implementing it into their lives, there are a lot of benefits to that. So that's my discussion, Nav. Can't
All right,
thank you enough
Jerry,
for having me here again tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jerry. Now, before you jump into anything, make sure you have professional advice. Don't rely upon so-called YouTube, the Google. There's a huge difference between a real practicing CPA compared to somebody's opinion. And on top of that, make sure you are okay with it and it is follow all the rules and regulations of Canada Revenue Agency. So you are responsible for it regardless. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
You're
Now,
welcome.
profits in flipping. Now, this is something which is now never going to go away. 2019, people bought a house for 1.2 million, put a couple $100,000 on it, sold for 3 million. 13 months to do it. Hey, it does not need much of it. It needs 13 months. It gives you about somewhere from $8 to $1 million profit in in 1 year plus, and it can be all 100% borrowed money. Again, it's not for everybody. It is somebody who is passionate about fixing it, adding it up, or doing something. And one of the other strategies which worked extremely well is in GTA, you can turn a single family home into 5 units, or some areas are 6 units. And you can buy a lot for 1.1 million or 800,000. And that can be also profitable. The time frame is 2.5 years, though. Again, to every investor, it's up to their liking if they have time, resources, and expertise, and they have all the proper and project experts. They have proper coach, CPA, and financial resources, though. So we're going to move forward. Pre-construction. This is a very painful thing for a lot of Canadian real estate. I wouldn't say investors, a lot of speculators. A lot of them jumped in the market 2021 when was market at the peak, and everybody was buying whatever they can. And all of a sudden, now the time after 3 years, 4 years, the time comes for closing. The appraisals are coming 10 to 30% below market value. So some people are defaulting. Breach of contract, the builders will go after you, you lose your deposit, and you could lose all other assets depending upon the recovery or deficiency orders. Now, several Toronto condo builders have came into this sort of agreement, and they asked the builder, the CMHC, they asked the banks, hey, listen, can you help us to bail us out? Bank said, okay, we will, but you become the co-signer. You become responsible for it. We know the market value, let's say condo sold for 2.2 million. Now it's worth 1.6. There's a 600,000 difference. You want us to finance 2.2 million. Okay, the original buyer had put 600,000 his own hard-earned money. That's a good insurance. Plus, you're giving us a guarantee. We can give them X amount of money, but they still have to come up with more money, though. So this is kind of working it out, but knowingly that you are buying an underwater property, why would you pay 30% more knowing the value? On the other hand, why won't you pay for it? Otherwise, you could lose other assets. This is one of those catch-22 situation, and these new construction condos are becoming a nightmare for those speculators, the builders, the banks, and nobody wins in this scenario. Most of the time, people lose and lose and lose. It's not a good scenario altogether. So where we are seeing another boom? Quebec City, Montreal. Why? Quebec is one of those provinces always surprises. Sales were up by 40%. It is booming. And the fun part of this one is if you look at some of these smaller towns, if you look at the number of sales, is absolutely incredible. But some of us don't speak much of French, but it doesn't make much difference if you are investing for long term. But we have a lot of investors here are from who are Acadians, who are French Canadians, and some of you speak French, and maybe looking into this market. Something about stinky bits, by the way, when the market is hot like this, it's a low ball offer. We have made a video out of it, about for 10 minutes long. You can go to flippingforprofit.ca, watch this video. You may gonna find some valuable information which you can utilize for the next deal. So here is the deal. What are they expecting in 2025? Randy Goodman have gone through this thing, but if you look at it, they're thinking the projection is that Quebec City is going to be number one, getting about 11% in appreciation next year, compared to Regina, which is 9%. So as well the Edmonton. Again, these are the three hot markets in Canada, according to the Roll page. Again, that's their forecast, by the way. Worst year for condos in Toronto and Vancouver. Now if we look at the sales, we look at what's going to happen. The next one, this is going to be a gap. This is going to be a really first time for a while, and nobody's building. All of a sudden, the demand going to come back again. And at that time, you wish, when the market was down, I should have picked it too. So here is word of wisdom. When the market is low, that's the best time to invest, as long as it makes perfect sense. Now, some of the investors came up with us and they said, listen, we have property which is negative cash flow. Can we do something? So yes, we can do something about it. And there is a specific strategy implemented. We can turn into a positive situation. And now we are able to implement it. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to have a asset which appreciates it, which builds equity, and we are in a positive flow. And that's one of the best part of it. Calgary home sales down by 12% January 2025, which is kind of saying, hey, listen, maybe Calgary gonna still boom, in my opinion. Alberta itself gonna boom altogether, unless otherwise there's a dramatic changes in something to with oil patch or gas industry. With the US, I still believe there's a lot of room for them to grow. On the other hand, Edmonton, their listing went up by 80%. And they're saying it's the most affordable city. You can average house price is 438,000. It's $200,000 less than Calgary. And people are still moving in there. I know it's a bit cold out there, but again, I believe a lot of Canadians say, hey, this is our affordability factor. So you're going to move in there. Vancouver is shifting towards more seller's market again. Those who know it, in January, the sales a little bit up as well, and so are the listing. Again, not much of an increase in the value, but again, it's more or less like 1% or less than half a point. Sorry. First kind of a flipping house flipper tax in a provincial level. On a provincial level, again, if you have a house, you keep it for less than 30 days, you're subject to 20% income. They are subject to certain circumstances. So they're trying to put down. On the other hand, when it comes to assignments, it is still the same old business, same old business. Cashback realtors. This is something you might have seen. A lot of big real estate companies are coming up. Hey, listen, you buy a house or sell the house through us, we'll pay you half the commission back. Be aware of it. Who are you dealing with it? And if you're comfortable with it, it is your call. But just sometimes these incentives, be careful what they offer you. How about US? Now, when the President Trump, before he comes to the office, there was a phenomenal growth in one industry. That was the prisons. And in US, there are companies who do private prisons. And you can look into the stock market, and the stock went up like crazy. And now there are a few prisons they're turning into a beautiful luxury homes. Now, is there opportunity? Yes. If you want to invest instead of going directly and picking up a house, if you want to pick up their stock, there's a big hype about it. For the next 4 years, the stock market, there's companies who only invest for all those prisoners. These prisoners are more or less people who have illegally entered the US, and they have to be processed. The process could take 1 to 4 years or a lot longer, and they need to be in prison somewhere. A different set of market. And CNBC had a big article about it, in case you want to look at it. If you want to invest part of your RSP money or TF RSP money or your own investment, if you're investing on the stock market, or something like that, just a suggestion only, not a recommendation. I'm not into it. All right. Who's the biggest developer? First Nations. What exactly are they doing? They're building a cluster of 11 skyscrapers in Vancouver, or 6,000 residential units. They're also building a couple of residential towers in the middle of Winnipeg. Again, it's their land, and it's good for the Canadian economy. That's my opinion. Edmonton, one of a kind city in Canada. You can get a building permit. A building permit within a day. Now, it is funny that they have utilized the AI, artificial intelligence, and they have auto review system altogether. And I believe this is the way to go. If all Canadian cities start following the same model, I think we can cut down the cost, because it costs a fortune for a builder when you're building or turning single family home to 10 units, 20 units, or 5 units, or even building another house or infill. And getting a building permit could become a nightmare, 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half, and it is difficult. Those who are interested in getting a little bit coaching, free coaching program, it's not mostly for those people who are accredited investors who have high income. It's mostly for them. You can book a call for 15 minutes, and we'll be happy to look after you. Rent. The rents are dropping. Yes. How much are they dropping? Not as much as we expect, but they do drop, and there is vacancies becoming more available. Those funny things are slowly disappearing. But again, the rental is still very strong, though this is something I believe we can adjust with the number of Canadians leaving Canada and number of new students, international students, or other foreign workers coming in are being declined, or they have cut the quota altogether. So it's going to affect the market. For example, you're able to rent one bedroom for $2,700 a month. Now you're getting maybe $2,300, sometimes for 10% in certain condos, but other areas are more or less the same. So these are some of the information from the rents. And people make a big thing about, hey, did the rent drops? Oh yes, they did drop. But if you go back, and from 2020 to 24, the rents went up by how much? 24%. Rents went up by 24%, and if they drop by a few percent, so what? If you look at them for the last 5 years, you're still a lot ahead of the game. So again, which way, how do you look at it? You can look at it very negatively, or you can look at it in a different way altogether. It's a matter of opinion. If your investment is safe, you have emergency fund, you're running a good cash flow, you have good tax write-offs from there, and you plan the exit strategies, financing is a good place, hey, doesn't matter. We have keep in mind 5 to 10% vacancy rate, and we also keep in maintenance and so on. And again, I think that's the nature of the beast. So a couple of things before I go in further. David, are you here yet? David Grossman? Okay. David, are you ready to take over now? Okay.
David said he's on the Zoom, but he needs to be let into the panel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Hi, David.
Hi there, how's it going?
Very good. Thank you.
Good. Okay, at least you can hear me. Can you see
We
me
can
as
hear you loud
well?
and clear. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. So you wanted to talk about renewals. People are always wondering about rates too, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that and latest news regarding mortgages and so on. So first of all, we're expecting probably a 60% chance that we're going to have a further quarter point reduction in March. Things have really been all over the place, up and down, upward pressure on rates, fears about tariffs. Very interesting to see what's going on with Trump. I was late in joining, so I'm sure that you've discussed that in a lot of detail, but so I won't get into it much, but suffice it to say that it's causing a lot of uncertainty. But basically, look, rates are down. They're considerably lower than they were about a year ago. We see a fair bit of activity now, finally. For last year, for most of the year, it was pretty quiet until the final quarter. For January, it's things have been pretty active from my point of view. People refinancing, some people buying. So that's all very exciting. And I think that if you can get a mortgage in the low fours or mid fours, and I've even heard of mortgages underneath four, it's a good deal. It's a good time, and there's arguments to be made for variable rate. Personally, I favor the fixed rate, 5-year fixed rate at this point in time, but I never push my beliefs and my values on people who are looking for a mortgage. My job is to help them figure out what's the right solution for them. As far as renewals go, well, it's there's pain out there depending on what rate you're coming from, right? If you're locked in at 2% and you're renewing now, you're going to be feeling pain. On the other hand, if you were riding out the variable rate mortgage, you've been probably getting some much needed relief in recent months with rates coming down steadily. So that's good news. And as we know, there's still a lot of healthy demand in this country for real estate. Lots of good lending programs out there. People still want real estate in Canada. They like to invest in mortgages in Canada. There's lots of money out there for both institutional and private mortgages. I'm running a seminar tomorrow night on investing in mortgages. If anybody wants to participate, send me a text message. You see the number on the screen there, 876-2031, area code 416. Drop me a note and I will send you a link to register for the webinar. It's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. And that's all. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So, David, given a choice in this environment, an average homeowner should look into variable or fixed rate mortgage.
Well, it's a personal choice. It's a, you know, it's a bit of a crapshoot. At the moment, fixed rates are a little bit lower than the variable rates, but we expect probably this year that we'll see a couple more quarter point reductions. So once we see those two reductions, or even one reduction, depending on the type of deal you're being offered, we're right at that sort of tipping point right now, right? But you know, and longer term, well, who knows, right? I mean, if rates continue to go down or hold, then you're good on a variable. But if they start to go up again for any reason, then you know, you'd wish you to lock in. So my personal choice would be if you can get something in the low fours right now to lock in to a 5-year fixed rate. I think that's a very good rate. But as I said earlier, that's just my opinion. So if somebody calls me and they need help to arrange a mortgage, I'm always helping people with the to find the right solution for them. No two situations are alike.
Exactly. Number two thing a lot of people are asking is should they go for 6 month, 3 year, or 5 year?
Well, lenders give an incentive for a 5-year fixed. So, you know, for a while we were telling people go shorter term, go 3 years or something like that. But you can save money right now with a 5-year fixed. So personally, I like the 5-year fixed. But again, as I said, every borrower situation is different. What's going to help you sleep at night? Can you afford to take the risk? Some people can afford to risk it. If you can roll a dice, then go with a variable rate. If you like the security of having a fixed rate mortgage and you know you can make the payments with what they are for on the 5-year fix, then take the 5-year fix. So again, every situation is different.
Excellent. Thank you, David Grossman. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We're gonna wrap it up in a minute or half because we promised everybody that we will not take more than a few minutes. And there are a couple of new programs came in, except I just don't want to get into tonight, but I think I'm gonna wrap it up because the time is saying, hey, time is up. I want to sincerely thank everybody tonight uh, for attending this our monthly meeting. I look forward to see you next Tuesday. I'm sorry, every second Tuesday of the month. I think the next will be on March 14th. Thank you, everybody, and good night.